Hey folks, what's going on? So, some of you might know that I've talked about the topic of audio description on my channel several times already, most recently in my Audio Description Awareness Day video. But the thing is, I've only talked about it from my perspective, from the audience's perspective. So I thought, why not make it interesting and bring someone in who has a completely different perspective? In this case, the person who actually records the narrations themselves. So I decided to talk to audio description narrator Roy Samuelson. And if the name sounds familiar, I have mentioned Roy in previous videos. Roy has a ton of credits to his name doing audio description. Some of them are 1917, Spider-Man Far From Home, Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Discovery, and like a lot more that you should check out. I wanted to talk to Roy and ask him questions about what it's like, the process of doing audio description, how the writing process goes, how the recording process goes, and what it's like to be part of that group of people bridging the gap in accessibility and entertainment for folks like us who are blind or visually impaired. So anyway, hopefully you enjoy this Zoom conversation that I had with Roy recently. So sit back and enjoy. As you see, I have another guest. I'm interviewing another guest. I have talked to actress Brie Klauser like this a couple of times, and I thought it might be interesting to just chat to another person who is part of the entertainment industry, part of the film and TV industry. And I'm going to introduce you to audio description narrator Roy Samuelson. Actually, I'm going to let him just introduce himself. So, Roy, I'm going to let you do that.
Oh, thanks, Juan. This is Roy Samuelson. I'm an audio description narrator, as you said. I'm a sighted narrator who's been doing movies and TV shows for audio description, as well as voiceover jobs, from commercials to video games to TV shows in that world too.
So, just how long have you been doing this? What kind of films have do you tend to describe or narrate actually?
Oh, sure. So, audio description is, for me, relatively new. I'd say within the last 5 to 8 years, given a range. And voiceover work itself has been for a few decades that I've been working in that. So, audio description is the newer place that I've really found a lot of passion and excitement for.
Is it something that you've been wanting to do that you kind of just stumbled on, or is it something that you've wanted to do for a while, or how exactly did you just get into doing AD?
Oh, that's a great question. So, a lot of the elements of AD are things that I've loved about voiceover in general. Specifically, the way that a voiceover narrator within audio description can bring the audience along for the ride of the emotional tone of the story. That's something that I've done in other aspects of voiceover. There's also a real technical element of audio description, specifically with timing. As audiences of audio description know, most times the narrator who speaks about the visuals comes in between lines of dialogue. And that requires timing and spacing to be in a certain place to make sure that the narrator, like me, isn't talking over people's lines, or making sure that an emotional beat of a scene in a movie or TV show has that room to breathe so that I'm not talking nonstop. There's a lot of considerations that are put into the script that are given to me. The script, I don't write the script. I'm a narrator reading a script, but that script has a lot of time code cues, and a time code is a visual representation of. For me, it's a visual representation of the where in the scene to jump in. So there's a lot of technical elements and a lot of emotional performance elements that I've always loved in voiceover, and audio description is the catch-all of all of those things that I just really love about voiceover.
So there's a lot of carryover, basically.
Yeah, I think so. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of comparisons and differences, but overall the experience of the audio description narration, I'm going along for the ride of the movie, and doing it hopefully in a way that isn't getting in the way of the audience's immersion of the experience.
I have a few questions for Roy that I've written down already, and I kind of wanted to just it's more for you guys to just get an idea of what it's like from the other perspective, because I know a lot of us know about audio descriptions and that they're there for the blind and visually impaired, but what's it like from the other perspective, from the person who's doing the narration? So let me start with this question actually. So out of all the genres, what's the most challenging genre or genres to narrate for?
Oh, I've got an opinion about this one.
Okay.
I find that every new film or TV show has some set of challenges, and finding, like I said earlier, finding that right tone to ride the emotional wave of the scene is so important to me that when an audio description audience is immersed in the story, that means that there's been a successful challenge achieved. And so, specifically, though, I think I find action, adventure, fantasy to be filled with all kinds of exciting challenges. And specifically with that genre, the writers of the audio description are the talented experts. Those genres turn up that expertise up to 11, the ability to create whole new worlds for our audience to immerse themselves in and make sure that the words are in alignment with what's happening on screen. It's so satisfying to read a really good action adventure fantasy.
When you think about like action movies or even action adventure, there's a lot of areas that you can't really do any narration because it's so full of just different, a lot of dialogue, a lot of just, things going on. So it has to be pretty challenging at times, but it has to be exciting though when you know you get it right.
Yes, it is. And finding that, getting it right, it's almost like a dance one. I feel a collaboration between the production, audio and visual, and the script that I'm bringing to life. That connection is so satisfying.
No, I bet because it's just like with any element in filmmaking. It's that when it all comes together, you just have that gut feeling that this is right, and that it has to be the same when you've nailed a line or you have the scene narrated like how you want it. So as for my next question, we've talked about one of the positives for AD. I mean, there's a lot of positives, but as far as behind the scenes goes, what's the best and the worst thing about audio descriptions? Not just behind the
Oh,
scenes, but just in general.
oh, that's a great question. I can bring my opinion to this too. I find that the best thing is that our blind and low vision people can be included in the conversation. And what I mean by that is one of the ways that we humans connect is by shared experiences. And I feel that movies and TV shows seems like a universal way to connect. And that connection means a lot to me. I've got some personal experiences with friends of mine who are blind, and our conversation changed when we were able to talk about a movie or a TV show in a way that was effortless. And I think that audio description helps in that conversation, in that connection. As far as the general answer for best and worst thing about AD, I think making sure that audio description meets high quality standards. For example, sighted people just have quality without even thinking about it.
Right.
It's and when audio description is done in a way that a lot of the streaming services and a lot of the vendors who provide audio description, who are taking the care and that professional aspect to it, that helps create the audio description to be in parity with what was created for the for sighted audiences, and bridging that gap is so important. So to answer your question, I think quality makes it great or makes it terrible.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's like with an audiobook, you can have the best narrator possible, but if they just don't fit the style or genre or just have the wrong tone, you're just going to get taken out of it. So,
Sure. And vice versa. I could be listening to a content that is, maybe is something that I'm really looking forward to, but the audiobook has a narrator that just takes me out. I can't even listen to it.
mm, yeah, yeah, that's happened to me a few times, unfortunately. And it's
Ugh,
like,
that hurts.
I'm just like, oh, do I just gut it out and listen to it, or because I really want to listen to
Yeah.
this, but sometimes I'm just like, man, okay, just
Yeah.
listen and
And you
grit
know
your
right
teeth.
away, right? It's like you know right away, oh no. Or oh yes, I'm in good hands.
The good news is that I haven't been too much in that situation where I'm just like, okay, listen and grit your teeth the whole way, but okay.
Yeah. Grit your teeth through this entertainment choice that you're choosing to put in your ears.
So you mentioned a little bit about educating and education in general for audio descriptions. Actually, what do you think is the best way to educate someone about audio descriptions?
Oh, the elevator pitch is blind people watch movies and TV shows. It's like a sports announcer on the radio giving the play-by-play. Like
Hmm.
that's just the straightforward way for what it is. But the audio description awareness is something that is growing. I think about our collaboration earlier this year with the Audio Description Awareness Day. and
Mm,
the Audio Description Awareness Day Challenge, that it was a great way for people who are aware of audio description to introduce it to other people who might not be aware of it. And simply by talking about it or showing how easy it is to turn on, particularly with the streaming services or even Spectrum Access, the app that
right.
you can sync up, it makes it so much easier to demonstrate. Instead of just talking about it, you can literally show audio description.
And actually, I want to just delve into that a little bit. Just want to mention that to anybody who doesn't know. Yes, me, Roy, and Stephanie McCoy from Bold Blind Beauty, and also her friend Chelsea Nguyen, we kind of all just got together to do this thing called the Audio Description Awareness Day, and we weren't really sure about it, but we just decided to go with it. And the whole point of it was just to watch, have someone who's blind or VI, or even someone who's sighted, introduce someone else to movies with audio description, and just kind of spread the word with hashtags, with social media posts, etc. And I mean, for something that was put together rather quickly, I think it went rather well.
And there's going to be more. Hopefully, it's an annual thing. We'll see if we can
Yeah,
get some participation by some of the organizations in the blind community too.
yeah. Although we almost inadvertently decided to make it on the same day as tax day, and we were like, I don't think people are going to be
Let's
thinking
push that.
about. Yeah, I think the same day people pay their taxes, I don't think they're going to think about audio descriptions. So yeah, I think we made a good move, moving it to the next day instead. Okay, so it's great that you as a sighted individual is bringing so much awareness to this topic, because a lot of us in the blind and visually impaired community do talk about it, but sometimes I keep thinking that maybe our voices aren't heard beyond the community. So I'm wondering, because you're sighted, as a sighted individual, like, where do you see yourself in this effort to make entertainment more accessible for those of us who have disabilities?
I think there's a few different approaches that I can answer this question with. First of
Hmm.
all, one of my goals is amplifying our voices of the blind and low vision community for what's wanted in audio description. So that's for first and foremost on my mind. That if I do have any platform, for example, this very this very interview that you're giving me, that I want to make sure that I'm not speaking, on behalf of blind or low vision people in a way that I want to amplify what they're saying. And so one of the things that's been really important to me is bridging the gap between the audiences and the entertainment industry. Specifically, I'm a member of the Television Academy, the home of the Primetime Emmys. And for 5 years, I've served on the Performers Peer Group Executive Committee, which gave me access to a lot of executives and decision makers. And I got to tell you, Juan, when people found out about audio description for the first time, inevitably they'd lean in and they want to know more. So that's one way to help bridge that gap. Another thing is that performers with disabilities in general are certainly getting a lot more notice. I'm thinking about the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge
Hmm.
and series like the Apple TV Plus's C, where you interviewed Bree. I'm sure you and she talked specifically about that.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of blind experts that are being hired within the entertainment industry to make sure that the content is serving our blind and low vision audiences. Personally, when I teach or coach voiceover talents who are interested in audio description, I make sure that a blind advisor is on the call, because I take the expression "nothing about us without us" seriously and directly. That having that connection to our audience and to the entertainment industry is, I think, essential. And I think it's bringing back to what we talked about earlier, the quality up to the parity of what our sighted audiences are getting. And all these different elements are kind of coming together in different aspects. I can't mention how many times a vendor of audio description, the creators of audio description, or a streaming service platform who's engaging with our audiences and finding out, we want this is what you want. That there's definitely a connection there, and it's really exciting.
And this is kind of diverging from my questions that I had in mind, but you said that you teach folks to be, to be audio description narrators. Uh, if there's anyone, is it possible to kind of give out the information if anyone might be interested in training under you or anything like that?
Absolutely, and that I really love focusing on disabled performers as well as people of color. That we need more representation in those areas. And if there's any way that I can share some things that I've learned from our community that can help, that's great. The Halp Network Academy has had a few classes that I've facilitated. There's some more that are coming up. I can be followed on different social media platforms, and I think my direct messages are open there. I'm always willing to find out how I can best serve not only the blind and low vision talents, but also people who are interested in coming into this world that might be sighted that can also contribute. So I want to make sure that our audiences are served. And the best way to do that is making sure that blind and low vision experts who know what this work needs to be are included in the conversation.
And I think that's great because we really do need just diverse voices and diverse perspectives because, I mean, the entertainment industry really is diverse, but as far as like the disability community, there doesn't seem to be as many voices or as much representation. So I think that's great that you're emphasizing that there has to be diversity in, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. So some people, well, not some people, but all of us, we tend to see the finished product only, and that's it. And I know a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes. So what is it that you would want to tell people who are familiar with audio description about what happens behind the scenes, whether it's during the writing process or during the narrating process?
Oh, sure. So the ACB conference in July, I'm keynote speaker, and I'm going to go into detail of among other things, a typical day in the life of an audio description narrator, at least my perspective.
Mhm.
And the Know Your Narrator series is now including some bonus episodes where I interview decision makers within the audio description world. So there's countless professionals from the writers, the editors, the narrators, the engineers, the quality control, the distribution, who all contribute to making audio description the best it is. And I feel that as our blind audiences become more familiar with those behind the scenes things that you're asking about, with these nuances of how each contributor makes this the best it can be, I can only imagine that our conversations are going to continue to evolve beyond the typical, does it have it or not, when it comes to AD. And we're really getting into the quality that audio description audiences deserve. And that's so exciting.
Yeah, and here's to the day where AD is taken as seriously or is readily available like closed captions are.
There you go.
So now this is going to be kind of an not off-topic question, but this is more one of those self-reflective questions. If you were to go back in time, or just not back in time, but if you were to give yourself advice from when you started doing all this, what kind of advice would you tell yourself? Would you give yourself?
Oh, that's a good one. Out the first thought, best thought, listen actively to audiences and what they want. I feel like when I was starting in audio description, I was already working hard on the craft of voice acting, those improv classes, the acting classes, and the voiceover workout groups. All of those things made what I do so worthwhile. And I just make sure that I continue doing those as I had. I definitely explore more perspectives within the world of audio description earlier. I feel like I was a little late to the game with my own perspective and only having that narrator's perspective. As I've learned more specifically with connecting with someone like you or with audio description writers or engineers or distributors, I'm learning more and connecting with that side. And obviously the audiences are essential and very important to me. So I think I'd get an earlier start on those connections because it's really served me not only professionally but also personally.
I mean, it's always interesting to look back, and it's always interesting when you're like, oh, if I only could have done this or could have
Yeah,
done that differently. But
sure.
it's easy in hindsight. But when you're in the middle of it, it's like you're like, okay, what am I doing now? What am I doing next? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Well, there's no book, there's no chart, it's not like you can follow step 1, step 2 like a instruction manual that
right.
each person, whether they're a narrator or not, has their own process. And this is a really unique business where things are evolving seemingly every week, so
Yeah,
it's really an exciting time. And as much as I'd love to have an outline of do this, do that, it's there's definitely a freedom in exploring and allowing myself to try new things and see if it works.
yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing about AD right now. I mean, it's kind of a wild west at the moment, but
Mm,
but at the same time though. it's nice to see more films, not just the new stuff getting described, but seeing a few older films get described as well. So it's nice going into like just you know going into the audio description project's website and seeing like, oh, this classic has descriptions now and this classic has descriptions now too, because that's something
Yeah.
that I even made a video about that last year, talking about like why aren't older films audio described. So
Yeah. And but to your point, it's really satisfying to be able to watch those with audio description, but also back to that conversation to be able to say, oh, do you remember that, like the in jokes of what happened in Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, or, being able to recognize those cultural references in a way without stopping the conversation, saying, wait, what happened? That's again part of the conversation.
yeah, exactly, and that's why I think AD should be something that is, not just included for contemporary stuff, but also for stuff that's been popular. Because, like you said, just so people can be in on just a lot of the stuff that's referred to. Because if not, it's just going to go over someone's head who's never seen the film or who wants to watch it, but because there's no ID for it, they can't. Well, Roy, thank you so much for being on here. Seriously though, it's an honor just to have you on the channel, and I'm hoping that more people are able to spread the word about audio description and also get to know some of your work. Because I mean, you never know. I mean, like recently, I decided to watch the Steve Jobs movie, and I didn't realize that Roy did the audio description for it. And as soon as the title card showed up, I was like, hey, I know that guy. It's like, wait a second, is that Roy? And then I messaged you. I was like, hey, Roy, I didn't know you did this movie. So if anybody wants to contact you or find you online, where can they find you?
There's a few places. On Twitter, I'm at Roy Samuelson. There's also Facebook, a few different places. Roy Samuelson Biz, as in short for business, BIZ. And also, I'm pretty active on the audio description discussion group and the ADNA, that's Audio Description Narrators of America, the ADNA.org. Under the Know Your Narrator tab, you can listen to all the interviews of narrators as well as decision makers in audio description. And there's a contact form that will eventually get to me.
And also, you have a podcast. I think it's also called the ADNA podcast.
Yeah, it's called Know Your Narrator, and
Know Your Narrator.
It's on the ADNA website, and it's on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, and your favorite podcast platform. It's been a bunch of half-hour or so interviews with those different decision makers beyond the narrators, and we've got about 2 coming out every week for quite a few months. So it's exciting to be able to share those perspectives and kind of highlight where some unknown perspectives on audio description, both from blind audiences perspectives as well as the writers, the engineers, and it's a really exciting. I'm having so much fun with it.
Yeah, so go check it out. Listen to him because he does a heck of a lot better job in doing this than I do. So
Oh, no comparison. Thank you for letting me answer these questions. These were great questions, and it's really great to connect with you about these things, Juan.
yeah. Well, by the way, so go check out Roy Samuelson, and yeah, it was nice having you on here. So hopefully you learned a couple things about just being an audio description narrator in the process that it takes to write and record audio descriptions. Thank you to Roy for doing this again. And if you want to learn more, if you want to get in touch with Roy, go to roysamuelson.com and also follow him on social media. The links are going to be in the description below. And also, if you've recently watched a movie or a TV show that happened to be narrated by Roy, let me know. Leave it in the comments if you happen to remember. All right, I will see you folks in the next video. I'll talk to you later.